Set my STEEZ not going on years ago. I bring you round 14, man. 14 tips. This is the round of the byes, man. So we're having a short week this week, man. What teams we have on the bye right now this week are Collingwood, Richmond, Sydney, and Gold Coast. So we're definitely short a couple games, 2 games to be exact. So that being said, let's just get into it, man, with the teams that are taking part in the action this week. Thursday night footy, man, we have St. Kilda Saints versus the Western Bulldogs. The Saints had a week off last week with their bye. Dogs coming off a bye the previous week, and looked a little lackadaisical and played against the Hawks, and bye didn't seem to do them any good, man, to say the least. Hawks had a good win against them boys, and Dogs looked to show themselves. It didn't quite look like the team that has been competitive all year. That being said, they also are supposed to get Sam Darcy back this week, which is, I know they'll welcome him back. His impact is undeniable considering what he's been doing in the beginning of the season. His field kick, goal kicking, being a target inside 50, he just has a very large impact, and having him won't hurt at all. So I also under the impression after seeing how it went last week that, you know, if you have the bye, then you're probably going to end up losing, man. The Dogs look to be a victim of that, but I think their opposition may be the victim of that this week coming up. So I'm going to tip the Dogs in good faith, man. I think they have a good bounce back week. The Saints should be an easier team to beat than the Hawks. You know, but the Hawks are a tough team at the end of the day, so I don't put too much against the Dogs there, but it did look like an off week for them boys, but I'll tip them to bounce back. Next game we have Hawthorn and Adelaide. Both of these teams had good wins last week, man. So it'll be interesting to see who will come away with this win. Hawks, obviously, like we just covered, beat the Bulldogs, and I do rate the Bulldogs. And Adelaide coming off a win against Brisbane, which was pretty good for them boys, I ain't gonna lie. And this one can go either way, man. I don't know. Well, they're in Tassie, so Hawks have the home ground advantage, but both teams win. I look at these teams in similar lights where they're such dangerous attacking teams when they are going and when they are playing great footy and the ball movement's moving and they're not stagnant. But also, just at their worst, the teams don't look very good at all. So I think this game would be dependent on how well the Hawks defend. We know the Hawks have had a very big tendency to not play defense at times. So the last couple of weeks they bounced back from that and decided to do that against the Dogs. So we'll see if it's consistent or not. I'm inclined to tip the Crows this game. It's just splitting hairs, I think, at this point. But you know, they're still without James Sicily down there in Hawthorn. So I think he hasn't been playing the greatest footy, to say the least, but at the end of the day, he still is their skipper, and he has some type of positive impact on the team. So it is tough, man. It is tough to say and to even predict who will win this game, in my opinion, but I think I'm going to tip the Crows, bro. Looks like the odds are in the Hawks' favor, but for some reason, I just don't feel comfortable picking them boys this match, man. So that being said, we'll move on to the next game. Brisbane versus the Giants. Both of these teams coming off of losses. We already spoke about Brisbane losing to the Crows. I still think Brisbane's a good team at the end of the day. GWS ended up losing to Port, which isn't a good look considering how bad Port has been looking all season. But I think GWS isn't just totally out of this game. I think they have the personnel to be able to do it. They are without their ruckman, though, which is going to hurt, especially going against Brisbane's ruckman. They experience McInerney, if you don't mind. And I think I feel more comfortable tipping Brisbane. We've seen Brisbane just play more consistently and more up to standard more times this season than we've seen GWS. And GWS has dropped some games I definitely didn't expect them to do this year. And just without their skipper as well, Toby Green, we're going to keep the trend going. I just don't think I'm a tip GWS in this one until they prove to me that they win without Toby. So let's go with Brisbane there. Next game at the G, we have Essendon versus Geelong, and Essendon lost to Carlton, although they put up decent effort against Carlton as well, considering that the cavalry that they don't have, bro, and the injuries that they're going through. I think Carlton probably should have whooped their ass a lot more than they did, but they didn't, and Essendon proved that they can still be in games even without all these players on their list. They're trying to be like Collingwood, but they're not quite Collingwood. But that being said, I don't think they're good enough to win against Geelong. Bailey Smith potentially making a return, that'll be a big deal for them boys, and tough for Geelong, for Essendon to overcome. I think Geelong just has a lot of impactful players that Essendon might not have the answers for. Although Essendon does have players, and just not as many. And Sam Durham still looks like he's still carrying the injury as well. So, I feel more comfortable tipping Geelong, even though it's at the G. But I just think it's a different quality of footy from both teams. And Tom Stewart's not suspended, so that's a big deal as well. Good news for Geelong, and I'm gonna tip Geelong this game. Next game we have Freo versus North, and Freo's coming off a bye too, but I don't think we might going to continue the trend with tipping against them boys, even though they coming off a bye. North beat West Coast, but just. I just don't think North really has what it takes to beat Freo. Before the bye, Freo was looking good. I just think, I keep on saying it's a difference in quality of footy, but it is. I think Freo is just a little in a tier above North. When Freo gets going, bro, they look very dangerous, bro. Ball movement wise, I don't think North really has the stocks to be able to stop them boys, man. So, I don't know. North did try some shit where they had Sheevesville in the front half, and North really made the run and made the difference against the West Coast in the game when then they had him in the midfield. So it's interesting to see what they'll do with him there. Colby McKercher played decent as well, so it just depends on how many of their players really get to going and don't play too pedestrian. But I don't think they're going to win. I think the midfield is just too strong, I think, for Freo. And assuming that they play up to their standard, I think that they'll win this game. So next we go with Port versus Melbourne. I don't think I'm going to tip Port, although they did look good coming off a win against GWS. I think Melbourne played a much better team, that being Collingwood, and was right there with them most of the game. I think they did a good job tagging Nick Dacos. They had a great game plan and ultimately just came up short. Just a little bonehead mistake at the end of the game, I think, from Max Gawn, which didn't really seem too characteristic of him to do that when they had a chance to potentially make a run for the win. But I think Melbourne played good nonetheless. Some things didn't go their way, and I think it should be an easier matchup for them boys compared to what they went against last week with Collingwood. So I think I'm gonna tip Melbourne on the road there in the Adelaide Oval. Although it's against the odds, I don't care. I think Melbourne, although I have been very critical of Melbourne at times, they seem to have been playing a lot better, man, and still not quite convinced with Port, man. So you got to prove it to me a little bit more. And the end of the week, we have Carlton versus Eagles, and Carlton smashed the Eagles earlier in the year, man, and I think they should win this game as well. Harry looked like he may be coming back. They were without Harry last week. And I think they're just, Carlton, just depends on what Carlton shows up. You never know, bro. Had a very hot start against Essendon and then just faltered, bro. And it looked like you were going through the motions. And it's just like the consistency is not there for Carlton, bro. It's terrible. Essendon playing with one key defender and you just can't blow them out. You only win by single digits, bro. It's just not very acceptable, bro. And it's tough for me to be convinced, but I think just based off the previous game this season and how they ended up going against West Coast, although it wasn't at Optus Stadium like this game is, I don't think that holds too much weight, hopefully. But yeah, I will say West Coast has looked better this year than previous years, and they seem to be at least being more competitive in games. They've been there to the end in a lot more games than they have, I think, in the last couple of years combined. But this was just a bit, maybe the fan in me, and also still having hope for Carlton to be able to be dominant enough to win this game. Maybe not blow them out, but I still think that they're good enough. And the talent gap is just big enough for Carlton to come out with this win. So that's what I got for round 14 tips, man. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube shit. Game's coming on in a couple hours, man. So by the time y'all see this, man, get your tips in. Cullen, if you decide to go with any of my tips and we're wrong, hey, man, my bad, bro. I'm not very good with tips, apparently, as you see, man. So get with the program, man, or form your own opinion. That goes for everybody, man, because I'm ass. So take my tips with a grain of salt. Yes, Lord.